Okay, we're on Shabbat, Perek Kaf Dalid, Mishnah Hey. Fifth and final Mishnah in the final chapter of Shabbat, the last Mishnah, Masechet Shabbat. It's been a long road. Says the Mishnah, we're going to continue talking about things that you're allowed to do or not allowed to do because it's connected to both writing or business. Says the Mishnah, Mefirim Nidarim b'Shabbat. Hafarat Nidarim means if a person takes a neder, like a woman takes a neder, and her husband realizes that she took a neder, or a daughter and takes a neder, a girl, and her father realizes, then he can do Hafarat Nidarim. He can be mefer. We learned that in the Torah. The Torah says the following. The Torah says, V'isha ki tidor neder la'Hashem. If a woman takes a neder, V'asa isar b'veit avia b'nurea, and she makes an isar in herself, V'shama avia et nidra, her father hears it, okay? If he's quiet, then v'kamu kol nederah, then the neder is chal, has a chalot. But v'im heniya avia ota biyom shamo, then if the father disallows her, that's called hafarat nedarim. Then call nedareha v'asarat lo yakum, meaning but it has to be biyom shamo. The father or the husband can't wait till another day, it has to be on that day, and therefore mefarim nedarim b'Shabbat. That's hafarat nedarim. There's another way of getting out of a neder. If a person takes a neder before Shabbat, okay, and then he makes a neder, he says, I'm not going to have wine. I make a neder not to have wine. And then he realizes it's a Kiddush. So he can go to he can ask a she'ilat chacham. He can ask a she'ilah. So the Mishnah says, Nish'alin lidvarim she'en letzarach l'Shabbat. If I take a neder, never to go to the gym anymore, I can't go to the rabbi and ask for a hatarat nidarim on Shabbat. But because I'm not going to the gym on Shabbat. But I say I'm not going to drink wine or eat challah, I'll go to the rabbi and he'll say, if you realize that you couldn't have Shabbat, then that you could do on Shabbat. Pokakine ta'or means you're allowed to stop up the light. The light is their window. And they wouldn't have it. Remember, we learned in previous Mishnah, they had no glass windows. So therefore, you can stop up the window. Umodidin et hamatlit ve'et hamikva. Matlit is a cloth. So let's say, if I have a cloth, in order for it to be mitamei tuma, it has to be the measurement of 3 etzba'ot by 3 etzba'ot. So about, I would say, this size. Okay? Otherwise, if it's less than 3 by 3, if it's less than that, then it's not considered, it doesn't have a din of a beged. And so let's say it touched someone who's tameh, and then it touched bread. And I need to know if the bread is tameh or not. It all depends. Is this a beged or not? So therefore, I'm allowed to be moded to measure the matlit in order to know. Similarly, normally you're not allowed to measure. Modidin, measurement is asur because you might write. Okay? Otherwise, you're not allowed to measure. Ve'eta mikvah, I'm also allowed to measure the mikvah. If I have a mikvah, I need to know if it's 3 amot deep by 1 amma by 1 amma. And then that's the minimum size in order for it to have, to hold 40 sa'ah. Uma'aseh b'imei aviv shel Rabbi Tzadok. Ub'imei Abba Shal ben Botnit. In the times of the father of Rabbi Tzadok. In the times of Abba Shal ben Botnit. Shepakaku et ha'ma'or betafiach. This is a very unusual case. Okay? Pakaku means they stop up the light with a tafiach. A tafiach is a kind of like, I guess, a pot or a kind of a cheres kli. And the cheres kli, they stopped up, they took the, here I have sorry about that, making a mess. I have a cheres cup. So if I have a light or I have a window on the side of my house, I got a window here, I got a window here we go, a window right here. I can take my cup and stuff it in there, and then the tumah is not going to come through if it's poter tefa, because the back of a kli cheres is not makabel tumah. We're going to see all this in the Bar Tanura, using visual aids today, okay? So v'kashu et ha'ma'or, shapaku et ha'ma'or b'tafiach, v'kashu et ha'mekeda begemi, and they tied, a mekeda is another kind of kli. It's like a frying pan, it's like the size of, it's like a vessel that holds, that can hold, it's a vessel of cheres, and it's a tefach wide. Leida im yesh begigit potech tefach im lav. To know whether in the roof there was an opening of a tefach or not. What in the world is going on? To know what's going on, we have to look at the Bar Tanura. Now it turns out the Gemara says a story, and then you have Rashi and Tosa, and the Bar Tanura says a play on Rashi. Okay, so let's look at exactly what's going on here. Okay, Leida im yesh begigit potech tefach. Let's look back in the story again. They covered over the window with a tafiach, with a kind of kli, the kind of vessel, with like a clay bowl. Kashuta mikeda begemi, and then they tied another kli with a gemi. A gemi is a piece of reed. Leida im yesh begigi, to know if in the overhang there's a potech tefach or not. So what in the world is going on? It says the Bar Tanura. Okay, there was a gigi potech tefach. There was a shvil katan ve'et shnei batim shelo haya mekura. Elash gigit munachat al gabo. Okay, they had these two houses, and in between there was a small shvil, and there was a gigit on top of it. So I drew this in such a way there were two gigiyot, one from each side. But it's probably that there was one in between. There was like one board across the whole way. Okay, but you're going to see why I drew it in this way in a minute. Okay, and there were windows open from each house to the shvil. Okay, and then from the shvil and from one house to the shvil and to the shvil into the house. Okay, so now let's imagine for a minute that this is one big awning over both houses. If there's tumah, if there's something tameh, if there's a dead body, let me put a little shape here. Okay, I'll make a pretend dead body. If there's a dead body, okay, in here, the tumah will go out of the window. It will be blocked. It won't be able. This awning covers both houses, and it will come into this house. That's a problem. I'm going to put the tumah over here. Okay, so that's if the awning covers over the entire area. The tumah is carried by the awning through the. I'm not being articulate here. Tumah is carried through the awning, from the awning out the window, and back into the next house, and can make what's in here tameh. Okay, therefore, vayichoshashin shema yemut beit bebayit echad utehei tumah ba min hachalon. They were afraid maybe somebody was dying in one house, and they were afraid that the tumah would come from the window el hashvil to the little pathway umin hashvil el habayit acher derech hachalon hapatuach, from the shvil to the second house. The fikach, therefore, pakaku et hachalon hapatuach lebayit shetumah betocho betafiach shel cheres v'gabo l'tzad hashvil. So they took a piece of this kli, okay, and then they used it. They moved it and stuffed up the window. They used it to cover up the window, and then because the back of it is not makabel tumah, can block the tumah. The gabo l'tzad hashvil. Let's do it this way. The gabo l'tzad hashvil. They put it that way. Okay. V'kli cheres eno metameh migabo. The kli cheres is not become tameh v'chotzetz. Why? Ki chashashu. They were afraid. They were ein b'sedek hagigit potech tefach. Because here, remember, there's the sedek. There was a gigit here, and there was a break in it. So I draw this too. But they were afraid that this hole is not a tefach size. If it's less than a tefach, then the tumah goes through. If it's more than a tefach, the tumah goes out, and it doesn't come in here. So therefore, they were afraid that this isn't a tefach, and therefore, they put the kli cheres to block the tumah. Okay? Then, what happened? Achar kach, hu tzruchu liftoach hachalon. They needed to open the window and take the tefiach away. Ubao leida, they wanted to know, im yesh ba'oto sedek shel gigit potech tefach, if there's a potech tefach or not. So what would they do? Okay, or is there not? It's v'nim zeid hashvil k'oil. So they wanted to know, is this a tefach or not? Because they had to take, for whatever reason, they needed this, I don't know, to hold fruit salad or fruit bowls or whatever. They needed to take this away. If they took it away and this hole is not potech tefach, the tumah was going to go into here and make the whole thing tameh. So before they took it away, what did they do? Madidu mekedah shel cheres. So they found a little, another little kli, mekedah kli cheres. They measured it and they said, okay, and they said that it must be a tefach. Uksharua begemi, they tied it with a reed. Uveoshitua klepe mala, and then they took this reed and they stuck it up, and they knew that this kli was a cheres tall, and they let's make our little thing longer. So then they stuck it up in here. If it went through, then the whole thing was potech tefach, and then they could take away this kli, and the tumah would not go in. If the thing got stuck, if the thing couldn't go through, then this hole is not potech tefach, and then the tumah would go in. So that's what they did. Okay, let's read it in the Mishnah again. Hopefully you'll understand it now. Okay, what they did was they blocked the window with a kli. And then they tied another kli with the gemi with the reed. To know if the hole in the gigit, in the awning, in the covering, was a break of a tefach or not. And from that story we learned, one, shepokikin, you're allowed to block a window. Umodidin, and you're allowed to measure on Shabbat for the needs of Shabbat. Vikoshrim b'Shabbat, and you can tie something. If the Bartanura says, or the Kahati says, it's a tying of not shel kayama. It wasn't a permanent tie, but you can do it on Shabbat for the needs of a mitzvah, and that explains this complicated, difficult to understand Mishnah. This is the end of Masechet Shabbat. For everyone who's been learning with me, thank you for participating. I hope you've appreciated and enjoyed and learned a lot in our study together. We'll dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. We have email. You can email me. I'm always available, rspolter@gmail.com. And we'll see you in Masechet Eruvin tomorrow. Have a great day.